Imagine walking through the tall grass as the sun drops below the horizon. Within minutes, the world fades to black, and you lose the one thing that kept you safe: your sight. Humans are slow, soft, and poorly armored compared to our surroundings. We don't have the heavy hide of a rhinoceros or the lung capacity for a 5-mile chase, but the animals we shared the landscape with were optimized for the night. Saber-toothed cats, hyenas, and wolves have specialized eyes that can pull every stray photon from the moonlight, turning the pitch-black forest into a clear map for a hunt. Sunset wasn't just the end of the day. It was an environmental shift that instantly turned us from foragers into vulnerable prey for 12 straight hours. Without vision, your ears take over. Every snapping twig or rustle in the leaves demands an answer. You're forced to decide in seconds if that sound is just the wind or something heavy moving through the brush. Huddling inside a cave offered some protection, but it also meant being trapped. Knowing a predator was out there, unseen and patient, created a weight of terror that was almost impossible to ignore. To survive, we couldn't just sit in the dark and wait. Our ancestors had to find a physical way to fight the shadows and a mental way to push past the paralysis of fear. The first breakthrough was fire. A single spark blooming into a campfire became our first tool for controlling the environment. This chart shows fire as a defensive barrier. The light radius creates a visibility zone, forcing the circling predators to keep their distance. But fire requires fuel. This diagram shows the rotation of guard duty, sacrificing sleep to ensure the group's survival. We also learned that our own habits could invite danger. Smart tribes began clearing away leftover bones and food scraps, realizing a clean camp meant fewer predators were drawn by scent. When the sire wasn't enough, we built physical obstacles. Placing thorn-heavy bushes around the cave mouth wouldn't stop a predator entirely, but the snapping branches gave the guards the extra seconds they needed to react. Fear didn't go away, but it stopped being a paralyzing force. Instead, it became a tool forcing us to coordinate and act as a single organized unit. When morning finally arrived, the tribe didn't just relax. They used daylight to gather data on what happened while they huddled at the fire. Hunters would walk the perimeter, studying the fresh prints left in the dirt. These tracks recorded every animal trying to find a gap in their defenses overnight. This knowledge was shared immediately. Elders taught the children to identify the specific claw patterns, turning a terrifying unknown into a set of predictable facts. That information changed their day. If tracks showed a larger pack of wolves than usual, the afternoon was spent reinforcing shelters and sharpening heavier spears for the next sunset. This loop of fearing a threat, studying the problem, and building a specific tool changed the way our brains functioned. We weren't just hiding anymore. We were adapting. Over thousands of generations, this cycle of nocturnal fear and daylight adaptation compounded. The thorn bushes we used to slow down a predator eventually evolved into the stone walls of permanent settlements. We learned to apply that same problem-solving loop to everything. We moved from building fires to building granaries to protect food, and eventually to building cities that functioned like massive permanent campfires. Now we live in a world where the night is never truly dark. These skyscrapers are the final evolution of that first campfire, using a constant electric glow to push the wilderness to the extreme margins of our lives. But while our cities have changed, our biology hasn't. Even in a secure, well-lit home, that ancient anxiety remains tucked away in our subconscious. It's why you still feel a slight chill when you look into an unlit forest, or why you instinctively double-check the lock on your door at night. Your body is remembering a time when that unease was the only thing keeping you alive. Fear was never a flaw in the human design. It was the spark that forced us to observe, to coordinate, and to build a world where we no longer have to be afraid of what's waiting in the dark.